With a response to Secretary Pompeo from the top Democrat on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Bob Menendez. Senator, welcome. You just heard the Secretary of State. He said that our goals in the Middle East are still being served. We are still countering ISIS. We are still countering Iran. He said that since the president's pullout, stability in the Middle East has increased. Your response?
Well, I think the Secretary lives in a parallel alternate universe. What the president did is a betrayal of the Kurds who fought and died alongside of us in pursuit of ending the threat of ISIS. It's a betrayal of our ally, the State of Israel, where, in fact, Iran now has an easier facility to have its land bridge with sophisticated weapons to try to attack Israel. It's a betrayal of our foreign policy to the Russians, who are the big winners of this, and that's part of the problem here. All roads lead to Russia with the president. And every time that there is an issue or a conflict, it seems that Russia ends up winning. And so I see it totally different. I was at that White House meeting, and I have to tell you, when the President of the United States says we shouldn't worry about 7,000 miles away and those terrorists there, well, on September 11th, they traveled over 7,000 miles and ultimately did the worst attack in our nation's history. So there's no guarantees that the administration has as it relates to the reconfiguration of ISIS and the 10,000 ISIS fighters that the Kurds were detaining. There's no guarantees from Iran that they won't build their land bridge and threaten Israel. There's no guarantees about our interests. And in fact, Russia not only is going to have a major say about the future of Syria, everybody in the region is recalibrating and rethinking about what their alliances should be.
Senator, the question is what can be done at this point. Senator McConnell, the Republican leader, said that the United States should prepare for the reintroduction of troops. President Trump seems not interested in that at all. I know you've been working on a possible resolution condemning the president's action. Any progress there? Or do you expect that that will be held up in the Senate, even though one has passed the House?
Well, first of all, you know, the president unleashed this disaster, and I think that there's going to be a real threat to the Kurds of ethnic cleansing. In terms of the Congress pushing back, the resolution that I've sponsored with Senator Young in the Senate, a bipartisan resolution, is the same that the House passed 354 to 60, condemning the president's actions and calling upon a change of course. And secondly, I have legislation with Senator Risch, the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, to do a series of things. A part of it is to sanction Turkey, also sanction Russia, also ask for a complete ISIS strategy as to how we finalize defeating ISIS, because the Department of Defense Inspector General tells us there are still 18,000 ISIS fighters in Syria. If the 10,000 that have been detained by the Kurds get released, that's a potential fighting force of hardened fighters of 30,000. To me, that's a clear and present danger to the United States and its security and interests. So our legislation would try to have a comprehensive approach and also to seek to provide some humanitarian and other assistance to the Kurds. And we need to do this because if we send a global message, George, that in fact we will abandon those who have fought alongside with us, then others in the world, when we are asking them to fight with us or for us, will say, why should I do that when you finish using me, you're going to let me die on the battlefield?
Let's turn to the issue of Ukraine and the impeachment inquiry. You heard Secretary Pompeo say that he did not see any conditioning of military aid on the pursuit of political investigations, despite what we heard from Mick Mulvaney. Based on everything you've seen, the testimony you've seen in the Congress right now, the words of Mick Mulvaney, is there enough evidence for you as a juror to vote to convict if impeachment comes to you?
Well, George, I won't comment about what and if that moment comes when the House ultimately adopts articles of impeachment, and then, of course, the Senate will act as a jury, so I'm not going to prejudice my views in that regard. But I will say this about the situation in Ukraine. The reality is from my perspective as a senior Democrat on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, what was done is extraordinary and extraordinarily wrong. The president extorted or seeking to extort President Zelensky of Ukraine. He held back over $400 million in foreign assistance that bipartisan members of the Congress voted to give Ukraine to fight who? To fight Russia. Once again, Russia's involved. And the delaying of that was extraordinary. Normally, once the department notices the Office of Management and Budget that they want to expend the monies, it takes 5 days. This took 2 months to ultimately finally get cleared. And clearly, everything that led up to that call with President Zelensky by President Trump was all to exert pressure on Ukraine. It was the worst of weaponizing U.S. foreign assistance.
Does Secretary Pompeo have a point about the process, though? Would this process be more legitimate if the House actually passed a formal resolution on the floor authorizing the inquiry and expanded the rights of the State Department and the administration witnesses in that inquiry?
Well, first of all, there is absolutely no constitutional obligation for the House to do that, and so they'll choose the process. But I laughed when I was hearing Secretary Pompeo in his interview with you, because the Secretary and the State Department have done everything humanly possible to impede, to obstruct, and not to provide information. So now that his call for being present, all he's ever said is no. In the oversight of our committee, all he has ever said is no. In the pursuit of the House's information, all he has ever said is no, obstruct, delay, and ultimately not cooperate. So his desire now to cooperate is pretty amazing.
Senator Menendez, thanks for your time this morning. Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.